you. Hi, hi, Jody. Thank you so much for joining us on the Weekly Spark. I'm really, really excited to chat with you today. I feel so lucky to have you here. Jody and I'm Sarah Gittleson, the director of Spark, and Jody and I met. How many years ago is it, Jody?
So it's 3 years.
3 years. Oh my gosh.
It's been 3 years already.
So we met on a very intense, amazing trip. We went with Eve Levy to Poland. And the thing about a Poland trip is that, it's intense, right, Jody?
You bond very quickly on these
Yes.
type of experiences.
Yes, because you laugh, not in Poland. The last one we got to Israel, you cry, and occasionally you laugh and you connect. And I got to connect a little bit with Jody on that trip, and we've been able to connect on social media over the years. And Jody is someone who I really find so inspirational. Since I met her, there's something so special about you, Jody. And there's a lot of special things about you, but I think one of the beautiful things about you is that you're someone who's always growing and learning and just so true to yourself. It's just so refreshing. So I'm so excited to share you with the Orlando community and with everyone else who's listening today.
So first of all, I want to say thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. First, to speak to you, and second, because you're Spark, I had to pull out my sparkly shirt.
I love it. I love it.
I haven't worn this, I want to say 25, 30, 25 years. Okay, literally. And so
you still have it. That's
I
impressive.
still have it. I kept it. I had to hold on to some memories, but really, Sarah, just to be able to connect with you and speak with you, and thank you for all the inspiration that you are putting out and that Spark is putting out over the years. It's really special, and we should only continue, all of us, to grow, and for everything that you're doing for the Jewish people. I'm just so, so grateful.
Oh, thank you, Jody. So Jody, could we start off? Can you just tell people a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you're up to, just, and then we'll kind of dig a little deeper.
Sure. So what can I say? So I live in Toronto, in Canada. I am the mom of 3 kids. We have a almost 9-year-old boy. He'll be 9 in a few weeks. I have a 12-year-old daughter, and I have a 17-year-old son. And so that's my full-time job as a mom. And part-time, I work with NCSY Canada, and I do parent programs. NCSY is mainly a teen organization, but we have a very strong parent component in Canada, which we're very proud of. So we do a lot of classes, programs. So that keeps me very busy. And what else can I tell you? So COVID, I've been working from home.
Yeah.
With the kids on Zoom, which is all impossible. Right. But
so all our listeners, Canada is still very much in lockdown, right?
We are. We're in lockdown.
Yeah,
we are.
Yeah.
But we're hopeful. I just want you to know we are hopeful. We're looking outside across the border, and I keep telling everyone, I'm like, we're almost there. We're really just a little bit longer. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're involved with NCSY and all this programming really for the parents. So, I know you weren't always, as connected Jewishly as you are now. So and this wasn't, you weren't always a Jewish programming person, right? There's been an involvement of yourself. So what kind of sparked your interest? There we go, spark. Your interest in living a more observant Jewish life, a more connected Jewish life, getting involved with the Jewish community to the level that you're involved with.
Right. So it's very funny. Just yesterday, I was in Sobeys and someone said, "You look familiar to me." And they said, "Don't you have a dancing business?" And I said, I did. And they said, well, I said, I'm not doing it. And now I'm in Jewish education. And so they were a bit, like, oh, okay, that's different. So um, it's a great question. It's an important question. And how do I have a shirt like this, right? For 25 years, Sarah, I had a children's entertainment company, which was focusing on dancing. So we did and it was the first, we actually incorporated the company in 1994.
Oh, wow.
I'm not old, okay?
You don't
94.
look that old.
But I am that old. I'm not going to share it now, but I am. And so 94, we incorporated this company, and there was nothing like this in Toronto, this interactive children's entertainment company. So we really created something special. So we did kids parties, bar and bat mitzvahs, after school and lunchtime programs in all the schools. We did corporate kids events. And really this kept me busy for 25 years.
Wow.
And
Did you dance? You did.
I did. And I still love to dance. You can find me dancing in my kitchen every day. Just ask my kids. They tell me to turn down the volume every day. Excuse me.
Okay.
So what was the spark, you asked? So I'm doing my dancing business. And after our second child was born, Sarah, I don't know how to describe it, but I will never forget this feeling. I had this overwhelming gratitude for just having another baby. And just, it was very much in my mind. I was grateful to God. Now, I'm a very grateful person in general, but you know how a lot of us say, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful. But the question is, grateful to what? To the air? Like, what are we grateful to? So at that time, I felt grateful to God. But I had no relationship really. I didn't know how to express it. I remember saying to my mom, don't laugh, but I said to her, I feel so grateful. I need to be on my knees like 24 hours a day. But at the time, that was like how I related.
Yeah.
It's a non-Jewish thing, but I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
I was just feeling like that. And so at the time, it's unbelievable. Hashem is unbelievable. I was feeling this within 6 months of this feeling. I got a phone call from my aunt. And my first cousin he was becoming observant. And I guess my aunt was going to Torah classes. So she not randomly, she called me and she said, Jody, do you want to go to a Torah class? And I remember saying, I don't even know what a Torah class is, but I thought to myself, maybe if I go, it will be one way that I can say thank you to God for all the blessings that I have in my life.
Yeah.
And I went to the class.
Okay.
Mind blow. Okay. I went to the class.
I want to know who gave that class.
Zale Newman at the Village Shul.
Okay.
The class was
I don't know
called
who that is, but
the class was called Soul Spa. Okay. It was a women's class and it was in someone's house. I remember driving like 25 minutes on a Monday night for the Soul Spa. And I went.
had me at spa.
Pardon?
I said, you had me at spa. That's
Right.
like,
Right.
sounds
And
awesome.
anyway, so Sarah, I went to the class and I never stopped, let's just say. But that was it. And I remember after the class, I said to the rabbi who taught the class, I said to him, I said, your words bypassed my ears and you spoke directly to my soul.
Oh,
Really, that's what I said to him.
beautiful.
And yeah, so.
Wow. And then you went to Israel at some point, right?
A few years later, I went on a momentum trip. I was learning already with Adrienne Gold at the Village Shul. And she asked me, do you want to go on a trip to Israel? And I thought, okay, I hadn't been to Israel in 20 years. I only went one time on birthright.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, sure, that sounds nice. And so I went on the trip.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and as you know, for anyone who's been on those trips, um, it's a very meaningful and has really the possibility of being life changing.
Yeah.
And it certainly was for me.
Wow. In what way? Like, how did it affect your Jewish growth?
So um, I described it when I came back as CPR for the Jewish woman's neshama. It's like, zzz,
Oh,
it's like, zzz, wake up, wake up.
yeah.
Something's there.
Right.
Something very powerful is there, but that I didn't
Yeah.
really know. I didn't know about, wasn't
Yeah.
connected to. And on the trip, it was really instilled in us this concept of responsibility
Mm-hmm.
as Jewish women that we have to our families,
Yeah.
to our communities. And
Uh-huh.
I, and I, and I really took it seriously
Wow.
when I came
That's
home.
beautiful. Because I've gone on 5 Israel trips, and it's really, I know they're so impactful, but it sounds like, you took it home in a really big way. Like, and it's really beautiful that I think it's some, like, I've gone to Israel, as I said, I've taken a lot of women to Israel, and for some women it really is life changing, and for some women it's a nice experience that they experience. And I'm sure you've seen that with your experience with
Yeah,
other people that have gone on the trip. And I love how you don't take things for granted. You're like, I'm going to get the maximum I can out of this experience. So you're on this Jewish journey. You're learning. You're going to Torah classes. You go on this Israel trip. You're so inspired. What about the rest of your family?
right. So as you know, so as a city leader who takes
Yeah.
trips, which I have the opportunity as well. So
Okay.
right before we leave, we're given a class on how to bring it all home
Uh-huh.
in a way that doesn't turn your family off. So I remember
Okay.
listening to that,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to blow it. I didn't want to
Yeah.
blow my opportunity. And at the time, so I had 2 little kids at the time. I didn't want to like traumatize my husband. He
Mhm.
already knew. He already knew, that after every class I would come home,
Yeah.
Sarah, I would like tell him everything I learned. And at first, I remember, I was so excited. Like, I was just so excited. Everything I was
Yeah.
learning, I couldn't believe it. And he would say, because he went to Jewish day school,
Okay.
I would tell him something, and he would say, "Yeah, I know."
Oh,
I was like, "What do you mean you know this? And
yeah.
you didn't share it with me?" And
Yeah.
so besides that, so he was, supportive of my journey,
Hmm.
but it was very much my journey. And so I did things very quietly at first, decisions just for myself, one of which I want to share with you at the beginning.
Hmm.
Um, we had a Friday night sort of dinner thing
Hmm.
where I would light the Shabbat candles whenever. I didn't even realize there was a specific time that you had to light.
Yeah.
A very private decision between me and God was, I'm going to light the Shabbat candles on time.
Yeah.
So that's something that's not pushy on anybody else. It's really, I was educating myself. I came back with,
Uh-huh.
I'm going to educate myself in order to educate my family. But I did it in a slow, quiet way.
Hmm. Wow. So you did it in a slow, quiet way. I can see that being complicated because really, like, you take two people that get married and they might be in the same place when they get married, but then as life goes on, your journey might look a little different, right?
Right.
So
And
what was your slow, quiet way of doing it? Because I think that's like a helpful tool for some people because, I think that's a real reality for a lot of couples that, one person might be growing at a different pace or in a little bit slightly different direction than the other.
absolutely. So it's very, very common, and it was no different for me.
Yeah.
But I think in my specific situation, my husband saw how it was enhancing my life,
Yeah.
which in turn enhances his life because you
Yeah.
have happy wife, happy life. Happy wife, happy life. So,
Yeah,
and which man doesn't appreciate a home cooked, beautiful Friday night meal?
right,
But so there are things that
right.
appeal to people that are not pushy, that are
Yeah,
not of we're going to change our whole life in 1 minute.
yeah,
And I was always encouraged, and I think it's healthy in every area of our life, not just in Yiddishkeit, but baby steps, as to not shock people. And, change is hard for anyone. And so I did a lot of listening to my family. Just because I was at a certain place doesn't mean my family was.
right.
And so you want to be an example,
Mhm.
as opposed to pushing, if that makes any sense. And I'll tell
Right.
you, the truth is, after a while, my husband said to me, "Whatever you're on, I want some."
Aw, that's
And so
awesome.
and so I literally said to him, "I got a guy." Like,
That's awesome.
and
Sounds like a keeper.
right, and I hooked him up with my first Torah teacher. I'm like, "I got a guy, you can come and sit with him and talk and just." But really, we're the example, we're the spark. Sarah, that's why I love what you're doing. And the whole point is there is a spark, and for each person,
Right.
it's so different.
Yeah.
And we can't make anyone believe anything. We have to work on ourselves first.
Right. Right. I love that because I don't think trying to push people to change really ever works
No,
at any age.
no,
People it needs to be intrinsic.
that's
But it
right.
sounds like your husband saw how happy embracing more of a Jewish life made you, and that was appealing to him.
That's right. That's right. And this idea of everyone being on their own journey, Sarah, even within your own family, each person is on their own journey.
Right.
And this is something I really had to like really, really get into my bones with my children, because, we schlepp them along, but
Hmm.
their journey is not necessarily our journeys. And I think
Yeah.
it's very important, to keep that in mind when we're growing in any area of our life.
Aliza Bulau spoke on the Weekly Spark a couple months ago about this topic. It was fantastic about her really her her personal journey, her and her husband's journey, and being in different places religiously. And she said it so well. And it was like, sometimes when you listen to something in one line just strikes you as like, wow, that is a kernel of wisdom. She said that when you have two people who are, in a relationship or married, whatever it is, and they're not necessarily on the same page in some ways, it's not enough just to respect each other's journey, but you also have to value each other's journey.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like, just like, because, we always think, oh, respect, but it's just not just respect, it's valuing that, like, they're on their journey, I'm on my journey, and their journey has validity and mine has validity. It's like a whole nother level. But it sounds like you had that sensitivity.
I think I've learned it over the years. I'm not sure I had it right away,
Yeah,
but I think it's developed, over years of just really understanding that and seeing how it plays out in your family.
right.
If you want to make certain changes, everyone adapts and reacts in a different way. And
Yeah,
so, um, as you go along,
yeah,
you have to adapt. That's what we have to do as moms.
right. What about your, like, so it sounds like your husband, ended up coming along with you on your journey. What about your extended family? Was that, am I allowed to go there?
Listen, they're fabulous, fabulous,
Yeah,
but you don't see the bullet holes, do you?
right, right.
Okay? It's okay. Change is
Yeah,
hard. Change is
yeah,
hard for anyone, and
right. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
I'm not sure if we can just go back just for a moment on,
Yeah,
the dancing, business into
yeah.
Jewish education. How'd that happen? I
Yeah.
I think it's
Like that's an amazing transition. I mean, really, you went from education to education, right?
in a way,
But in a very different sort of way. Yes, I would
right.
love to hear about that transition, like going from running an entertainment business to like being like this, activist and leader and educator in the Jewish community. What was that like for you?
Right.
How did
Again,
that happen?
yeah, how did
And
that
like
happen?
you really transitioned from a student to a teacher, which I think is so cool
Right.
that you like
I'm still a
learned and
student.
learned, and then you became the teacher
Right.
and are giving people what you received. And that's so beautiful. It's like come full circle for you.
So thank God. That's it. I feel like very small to be able to appreciate it on that level. Um, but but really, it's very interesting. I think about often, how did this all happen? I'll say a number of years ago. Let's not so long, maybe 5 years ago, because I've only been, working in the Jewish community or for the Jewish people for about 5 years. Okay. Um, and so let's say before I started officially working,
Mm-hmm.
and I was learning and involved a little bit more in
Yeah.
Yiddishkeit. And a friend of mine asked me at my son's school, she asked me, "Are you still doing your dancing business?" And I said, "Yeah." I said to her, "But I'm thinking of going in another direction." And she
Yeah.
said, "What do you want to do?" I said, I'm really not sure." She goes, "Well, you have to know something."
Right.
And Sarah, I said to her, "I want to do something to help the Jewish people." I had come back from my trip. This is after my trip.
Yeah.
And I said to her, "I want to do something to help the Jewish people," but I didn't know what that would look like just yet. But
Yeah.
I had it in my mind that perhaps I wanted to walk in another direction in my life. And I thought, it's hard, you build a business from the ground up, it's your baby, and this is how you're defined, right? And,
Yeah.
you think maybe I'll have to do that for my whole life. Maybe that's what I'll do. And
Yeah.
what I found that if you slowly walk in a different direction, Hashem is guiding you. Hashem,
Mm-hmm.
like, so I didn't know exactly what that would look like, but I had this intention of, you know, the Jewish people needs every single one of us,
Right.
every single one of us in our own unique way. And I
Right.
felt, perhaps I had something to contribute too.
Yeah.
And so as I became more involved, I was doing, a number of things on my own and with other people in the community, classes, all kinds of things, just, you know, being involved in chesed and things like that.
Yeah.
Hashem leads you. And
Mm-hmm.
so NCSY reached out and said, "Do you want to join our team?"
Yeah. That's
I said,
awesome.
I said yes. And so
Now,
that's how it went.
wow. The Torah says that we're supposed, what is the point of learning? It says, lil mode, la. So we learn in order to do. And some people stop with the learning. I learn in order to be inspired or to be intellectually stimulated. But you really took this idea to heart. Like, I'm learning in order to do. And you learned, and now you're teaching and you're doing. And I think like it's a really brave thing to, I think a lot of people like staying in their comfort zone. And you had your career, you had your life, and you were willing to say, you know what, like I have a dream and I'm going to go for it. Like that takes a lot of fortitude, I think.
So, you know, I think it has to do with responsibility, Sarah. I felt responsible. I felt
Mm-hmm.
in terms of for my kids, they were
Yeah.
in public school at that time. And I thought, if I don't give them the basics of Judaism, they're not going to get it. And so it
Yeah.
really started with myself, for
Mm-hmm.
my children, my family, and then it radiates like that. That's
Wow.
really how change happens.
Yeah.
So it was not necessarily, was it a dream? It was more of a taking of responsibility for myself and my family,
Right.
and then wherever else I
Right.
could.
I think it's what's striking me is that you're very intellectually honest. And that if you understand something to be the right thing, you do it, even if it's challenging.
So yes, you know how Lori gives those classes on Chaim, Bracha, and Tov,
Yeah.
right? So there's the Tov personality, which is the rules person. Like Tovs want the rules, tell us the rules because we want to do the right thing. So
That's you.
I'm a Tov. So when I'm learning the rules, I'm learning God's rules. It's not my rules or anybody else's,
Right.
it's God's rules. And that
Yeah.
makes all the difference.
Right.
And so I was very excited to learn and do my best very slowly
Yeah.
to do to take what I learned and put it into practice.
Right. And I think the key word is slowly, that you
Yes.
didn't like decide overnight that you were going to jump into Jewish education and change different aspects of your lifestyle. You realized that even though maybe you understood where you wanted to be, you took the small steps to get there, right? Can you explain why you went slowly?
First of all, Sarah, I had so much to learn. I didn't go to Jewish day school. Like I got nothing. So
Yeah.
my Jewish education was from the Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston. And I saw Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat on Broadway. Okay. So I got the two stories, but really, I'm the granddaughter of Holocaust survivors. I was proud to be Jewish always, but I
Yeah.
didn't really know what it means to be Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
And so that journey is a slow journey. And also in life, I think we all know this, when you jump in the pool and it's freezing, you
Yeah.
jump right out. You jump right out. So what
Yeah.
do? You put your foot in first, you feel the water. So that's healthy. I didn't want to jump right out and be
Right.
scared off by, it's all or nothing.
Right.
It's not all or nothing. And
Right.
I think practically and for your life and just to be healthy, a healthy, normal person
Mm-hmm.
is to really go one step in front of the other every
Right.
day. But take a step, but
Right.
walk,
Right.
right?
That's
So
beautiful. So what was the hardest part for you it sounds like you and your family made a lot of changes in your life. What was the most challenging one for you?
so I would say hands down, Sarah, I'm a foodie. Okay. So the whole koshering my home journey was I would say took the longest and
Okay.
was the most daunting for me. Daunting. Even though intellectually I was there. I want to keep kosher. I want to have a kosher home, but to kosher my home seemed like Mount Everest to me.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like Mount Everest, that I have so much stuff. How's this going to work? How are we going to do
Mm-hmm.
that? And we were eating kosher food for, I would say, like a few years
Mm-hmm.
before I finally, had my kosher lady come to my home and do everything. And that for me was just so overwhelming. How am I going to do this? And the day that we did it, I had 17 people in my home
Oh wow.
helping. 17, I counted.
A lot of people.
And everyone was doing their various jobs. And I'll never forget, God bless her, my sister-in-law, my husband's sister. I said, you have to come, please help. And she walked in the house, Sarah, and she saw the chaos that was going on. And she said to me, she goes, Jody, you must love Hashem so
Ah,
much. Do this. That's what she said.
that's so
And
funny.
then of course she was, schlepping things to the mikveh back and forth with my husband. It was an amazing experience, but you know, it's daunting, but I'm so grateful that I climbed the mountain. Let's just say,
Right. Was
thank
it
God.
hard for you like that, like have in terms of like going out to eat, like only being able to go to kosher restaurants? Like I guess Toronto probably has a nice amount of options, right?
We're good. I'm grateful. I'm
Right, but
very
not the
grateful.
same.
But my husband says, because he's traveled for business, he's like,
Yeah.
Jode, I haven't really traveled kosher yet.
Right.
So he's like, we got to go to New York. He's like,
Miami, got to get to Miami.
we got to get there. So I'm dreaming for that. I'm
Yeah.
waiting to
Yeah.
experience, but Baruch Hashem, we're good. I don't want
Yeah.
to complain about
Yeah. Right. Wow.
it.
You know what? I think everyone has different things that are challenging for them when it comes to their journey. For some people it might be prayer. Some people might not connect to prayer. For some people it might be kosher. For some people it might be, carving out time for Shabbat or whatever it is. And we all, it's just we're all on our own journey. And, you know, we all have our own struggles and our things that are going to be more challenging for us.
I think in general, any change, it's really, and it's based so much on where you're coming from and your background and your life circumstances. And everyone's journey is so unique.
Yeah.
And so I see it everywhere with all the ladies that I have relationships with just over the years, and myself and my
Yeah.
own personal journey. Yeah.
It must be a real inspiration to so many people who go on the Israel trips and are involved, you know, the moms involved with NCSY, you know, seeing that you took your journey very seriously. That's like really, you know, I think an inspiration.
So I get a lot of
Or maybe
questions.
terrifying for some people.
Yeah, maybe. But I really, my message is that each of us is in our own relationship with Hashem.
Right,
And so we can't look at each other. We can
right,
be inspired by each other. And what I
right.
was to others, that I was looking, and I remember one of my city leaders, when I was a participant, I just wanted to sit beside her. I
Mhm.
wanted her to, like, by osmosis, I wanted her
Right,
holiness to, like, rub off on me. But
yeah,
I was admiring, but I wasn't judging myself on where
right,
she's at and where I'm at. We're
yeah,
different.
right, right.
Um,
Goes
but
back to everyone has on their own journey. And what you said earlier, it's not all or nothing. So, you know, we all kind of do what we can do, and, you know, and whatever we do has value.
Right. That's one of my messages, is that, that was taught to me. Judaism is not all or nothing. And it's what I share with everyone who will listen. Because a lot of people, and listen, I got it in my own life when we were
Yeah,
just having, let's say, kosher meat on
yeah,
unkosher plates at the
yeah,
very beginning. And the comment came to me, who are you fooling? It's
mhm,
not kosher. You're
right,
you're eating kosher meat on a non-kosher plate. And I said to them, it's not all or nothing. And so
100%.
every mitzvah matters. Just try, right? And what we do doesn't change. Like, it's really a value in itself. Every mitzvah is precious, and it's not based on what we don't do,
Right,
right? It doesn't take
absolutely.
away what we don't do.
Right,
And so, people have said to me, I'm not going to light my candles because on Friday night, because I'm going to go watch TV after. I'm like, one has nothing to do with the other.
right.
I'm like, do the mitzvah. Don't focus on what you're not doing. Focus on what you can do.
That's beautiful. Sounds like you have such beautiful messages for the women. The women of Toronto are so lucky to have you, Jody.
Listen, I'm, you said I'm the teacher now. I want you to know I'm such a student. I'm learning, like, I'm learning more than I ever did before. I'm like a lifelong learner, right? I'm a lifelong learner. And
Yeah.
it's funny, my friends who grew up with me, they often say, you know so much. And I go like this. I'm like, see this? Like the space, and I'm like, that's how much I know. That's how much I know. Okay.
We're all learning, right?
There's so much. And I feel, I don't know, Sarah, if you feel this. Sometimes I'm on classes with different teachers and I feel so small. I'm like, wow, I have so much more to learn. There is so
Yeah,
much to learn. So I'm always looking up. There's always room to grow, for
right.
sure.
Well, listen, the word for that's used to describe a very like wise and learned person is a Talmid Chacham, which means a wise student, which basically means like the biggest, you know, rabbi leader is really we're all supposed to be lifelong students, right?
That is so, that's so inspiring. That in itself is so amazing.
Yeah, that's what we're supposed to be students. You know, no one should. There's no like thing like, oh, I've completed my Jewish degree. You know, like if Judaism believes that, you know, it's not like, you know, 4 years of college and then a master's and maybe a PhD. It's like you know, you could be learning and growing until the day you die, and that's all. You know, and that makes life really amazing because you're constantly growing and learning and developing and becoming.
Right. And
You are.
it's very humbling, because as that idea that it never ends, you never really get there, keeps
Yeah.
you humble, because as much as you think you know, there's so much more you don't know.
Yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
that keeps me, where I need to be.
Absolutely. So, when you go on these trips with women, I know you mentioned now you lead momentum trips, right?
Just like you, city leader. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what advice do you share with them based on your experience? Because I assume a lot of people who are listening might have gone or might go one day on an Israel trip. I'd love to hear what your advice is to them.
So different things come up. Of course, a lot of people ask me about just the different challenges. How did I do this? Like,
Yeah,
fill in the blank with your kids, with everything,
yeah,
with dressing, with
yeah.
with food, just all of it. A lot of questions. And again, like I said before, it's always baby steps.
Hmm.
It's always baby steps, and Judaism is not all or nothing.
Yeah.
These are the main messages, but also when we come back, it's very, very important. You go on the trip and you're so inspired, and then
Hmm.
you come home, and then what? It's up to us to keep ourselves inspired.
Hmm.
Like, we often look to others to inspire us, but really, it really has to come from us, and we're the ones that have to water, the seeds that are planted on these trips, and with this knowledge and wisdom of Judaism. It's like seeds planted, and it's up to us, Sarah, to come home and water them.
Right.
And we have community members and mentors to help us do that, and organizations like
Yeah.
Spark, like, and we have this, but we're responsible for ourselves.
I
And
love that.
right.
Because you know what, on the Israel trip, everything's taken care of for you. Like literally, like you don't even have to think about when you need to go to the bathroom because they tell you when there's a bathroom stop.
Exactly.
Like when you eat, every single class, it's like, and it's beautiful and amazing to get that break. I'm not gonna lie. The day I come home from the trip, I'm like, where's my buffet breakfast? um, but but also the spirituality is taken care of. Like it's just nonstop spirituality, and that's not the reality. When you get home, you have to like pick yourself up and decide on a weeknight that you're going to go out like your first class that you ever went to, right? 25 minutes on a weeknight, I'm sure wasn't easy for you, right? But you decided you needed to, what are your initial seeds of inspiration that you had from your gratitude of when you had your second child? So, it's really all about like taking ownership. I love that.
Right.
I think that's such an important, important piece of it.
Right. And so what's so amazing about that is that, Judaism, it's a religion of action, right? We have to do, we have to learn, and then we got to do. And what's so
Yeah.
beautiful is the more we do, the more we'll want to do. That's
Yeah.
how it works, right? And
Yeah.
so it really motivates you and pushes you, because it's, you get that inspiration, you do something, and
Yeah.
then it inspires you to do it again, to take another step and just go forward. And what's so beautiful, we have each other. Okay, we're not alone, and that's, this sisterhood of who we
Yeah.
have in our community, that we should know that in our journeys, although we have to take responsibility, um, we are surrounded by communities that are fully supportive and there for us,
Yeah.
in whatever way we need.
Right. So it's about taking responsibility, but also utilizing the resources available to you.
Exactly.
Maximize your Jewish journey.
Exactly.
Wow, that's beautiful. Okay, so we need to start wrapping this up. I've been so inspired by everything you shared. I love how you really took every part of your journey and brought it home in a practical way that didn't overwhelm you or your family. And I think so many people can learn from this. But I would love to hear if there's like one sort of take home message that you can give our listeners, what would that be? You
So much.
shared a lot, but like, what would be like the one thing that you'd want
Okay,
everyone?
what's my main? I have like a main thing.
Yeah. Okay. What's
Yeah,
your
I
main
have.
thing?
Okay, so but it has to be. There's a little story that has to
Share
go,
away.
because that's how it played out. So
Yeah.
Sarah, many people asked me over the years. They
Hmm.
say, Jody, are you Aish? Are you Chabad? Are you modern Orthodox? Are you conservadox? Are you a religious Zionist? Sarah, they ask me, and every time I turn to each one of them and I say, I'm a Jew, labels are for clothing.
Mm.
And so my message that really is that the Jewish people are one family. We are one family, and that means Jews, wherever we find ourselves, in Israel, in Orlando, in Toronto, we're a family, and that connects us. Doesn't matter what we do or how we practice. We may practice differently, and that's okay. That still doesn't negate the fact that we are family, we're responsible for each other, and we have to be there for each other. Um, and so that's what I want people to know. That's what I share with everyone who will listen, that there's no differences. Um, there are differences, but really overall, the Jewish people are one. And because we want to be close. And when you talk about differences, although there may be, you're separating people. When really we just want to connect over the things that we do have in common, not the differences, because we have more in common.
That's
And
beautiful.
so
I love that. I like that line about labels are for clothing. I'm gonna have to steal that one.
you can steal it because it,
I,
right?
yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Someone actually said to me something recently about how we try very hard to put people in boxes. You know, maybe it makes it easier for our brain. And the person said, you know, I don't want to be put in a box until I'm dead. You know, like I'm just like, you know, but I think I like your line better. But you know, I love that because I think probably one of the things that allowed you to develop on your journey is the fact that people didn't label you, that people accepted you for who you are and what your journey was.
And yes, 100%. And just to like bounce off that, when I was going to these classes at these, Orthodox shuls, I remember I walked in my jeans, and the feeling was always like open arms. We want you, we love you, come as you are, come as you are. This is where we hold. This is where we hold. Even though you don't hold there, we want you and you're welcome. And that really has like set me on a path of how I am to others.
Yeah,
And right.
I love that. I
And
feel like that's something that like really resonates with me, especially living in Orlando, where we have a diverse Jewish community, and most people don't look like me. And you know, many of my good friends are very different from me, and yet we're still good friends, and we're still focused on what we have in common. And I think that the world needs more of that.
I think so too. So we have to just be that example. I had that example set for me. And so I really try so hard in my life to emulate that amazing example. Yeah, because I
Beautiful.
think it makes all the difference, because we all see each other as so different and feel perhaps that, because we're different, because we look different or do different things, that we won't be accepted. And when you're with people who show you the opposite, your whole perspective changes,
Yeah,
and you realize, okay, and you have something to look up to and admire, and you feel the sense of belonging.
yeah.
And right, and so we all belong in the Jewish community, right?
Wow, beautiful. Well, thank you, Jody, so much for joining today. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you. I know everyone who's here and listening is, I'm sure, so inspired from you and how your realness, your authenticity, your journey. It's really beautiful. And I feel so privileged to know you and so grateful that you were willing to share yourself with all of us today.
Thank you, Sarah. I feel the same way about you. I'm so inspired by you, and I look up to you. I look up to you,
Aw,
um,
thank you.
from your beautiful example. And thank you for having me today. Uh, you know, you're a little shy talking about yourself, and a journey, but I feel supported. And so when I'm with you, and not judged, and um, it's really just an honor to be here and to share this with other people who will be listening. So thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a wonderful day.
Bye, Sarah.
Bye.